The slide that you can see right now is slide 16, which is bone tissue. And you can see that next to the microscope slide, we have the model that you'll be looking at in lab of bone tissue. And you can see that both the microscope slide and the model are made up of concentric circles that are stacked next to one another. And you can see these circles next to one another, and these are called the osteon. And this is the functional unit of bone tissue. It's a structural and functional unit. In the very center of this circular structure called the osteon is a dark area on the microscope slide, and you'll see that it's got a red dot in the middle on the model, and that is called the central canal. And blood vessels and nerves run through the central canal to allow nutrient distribution and blood supply and nerve innervation to the bone tissue. If we were to move to a higher magnification, focus, we can see these osteon in slightly more detail, and you can see here is one osteon, here's another osteon, again with the central canal, and now we can see that multiple osteons can be connected to one another with a structure called a perforating canal. And this perforating canal will connect the central canal of one osteon to the central canal of a neighboring osteon. And this is so that the osteons can communicate with one another through the nervous supply and establish a network of resources through the blood supply. If we were to look at the osteon under higher magnification, we'll actually switch out the model for a different model. You can see, move the slide just ever so slightly. We can see that there are structures and discrete rings to this osteon. So here we have the central canal, and the middle of the central canal contains blood vessels and nerves running vertically through this tissue. And then we can see that the central canal is surrounded by layers called lamella. And these layers, these lamella, are made up of bone matrix, which is a type of connective tissue. It contains a lot of collagen, which gives strength and resiliency to the bone. And we can see that in between these lamella, in between these layers, are dark circles on the microscope slide, and you'll see them as blue structures on the model. And those are called osteocytes, and these are the mature cell within bone tissue. And the job of the osteocyte is to maintain this bone matrix that makes up the lamella. The job of the osteocyte is to send out these cellular projections, these cell processes, to take measurements of the bone tissue, of the health of the bone tissue, to make sure that this bone tissue has adequate resources and is maintained in a healthy state. The osteocyte sits in a space called a lacuna, and that word literally means window. So in between the lamella are these osteocytes, and the lamella are these rings that surround the osteon. These little tiny cellular projections that come out from the osteocyte, you can see them really nicely right here. These are cellular projections that sit in little cracks called canaliculi, and that's what these little structures are. They, on the model, are the little red lines. So if we were to move back to a lower power and back to our other model of bone tissue, we can review our osteon, which is right here. And we have the central canal, the rings of lamella surrounding the central canal, the osteocytes sitting in their lacuna, and then we can see the perforating canal, which connects the two central canals of neighboring osteon.